Hey, Mick.
Yeah, man.
Hey, we're coming up on the Halloween season, and I wanted to ask you, where do you rank Halloween in your favorite holidays?
It's a pretty close second to Christmas.
Well, what if I told you that you could combine both of those holidays into one?
Well, that would be astounding. How would I do that?
Well, ugly sweaters have been like the hottest trend over the past several years to wear around Christmas. But now you can get into the fun early with ugly Halloween sweaters.
Well, that sounds pretty fun.
Right? And you can find them now at HalloweenCostumes.com. So now let me ask you, what would you want on your ugly Halloween sweater?
Let's see. I like skeletons and vampires and witches and Frankensteins and mummies and like pumpkins everywhere. Yeah. Like a whole bunch of pumpkins would be pretty cool.
Well, HalloweenCostumes.com has all of those options for their ugly Halloween sweater collection, and even licensed horror characters like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and Beetlejuice.
Get out of here. You say that's HalloweenCostumes.com?
Yes, that's the place. You can find over 20 designs in adult sizes and several even in kid sizes. Plus, they've got a slew of fun Halloween costumes and accessories as well.
Well, when we finish wrapping up this podcast today, I'm heading over to HalloweenCostumes.com and check out all the ugly Halloween sweater designs. See if I can find me one I like.
But before you check out, make sure you click on our exclusive TRN promo link in today's show notes, and you can save 15% on your next order.
Man, this is going to be a great Halloween season, maybe the best in a long time. Can't wait to get one of those sweaters and put it on and go downtown for Scarecrow Alley and stuff. Maybe I'll find me like a skeleton or like an ugly black cat. Ooh, no. I want a voodoo skull sweater. No, bigger than that. I want Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, or maybe they got one that looks like Castlevania.
It sounds like it may take Mick a while to make up his mind, so we better get on with the podcast.
The Retro Network Podcast.
Kind of like Home Alone mixed with The Hangover.
Pause, timeout. All right, I'm doing the Zach Morris thing.
Yes.
The flagship show for the Retro Network Podcast channel.
We've got some fun stuff in this episode.
Man, that's like listening to classic Guns N' Roses.
Even G.I. Joe fans are like, WTF.
Get ready for the latest pop culture news.
We've got plenty of recurrent events headlines to get to.
Man, can you imagine getting a service that streamed all these old Nickelodeon shows?
Interviews.
Let me just start out by asking you, what was your Batman experience when it first came out?
Yeah, summer of '89, I was very excited. I was a comic book reader.
And topical discussions on all that stuff we grew up with and just can't leave in the past.
There's just so many great memories that I have as a kid, just begging mom to go to the department store.
We were the target audience for Sears catalogs. I remember getting them and mom sitting down at the kitchen table and getting on the telephone and making her orders.
How have you not watched The Matrix?
When I went to the movies, I was trying to go watch a sensitive movie, the ones where you could put your arm around your date.
And now, here are your hosts for the Retro Network Podcast, Jason.
I like to have pictures with my words.
And Mickey.
I ain't farting on no snare drum.
Welcome back to another week on the Retro Network Podcast. And sitting in with me this week is not Mickey. Mickey is actually tied up at work, asked me to call in a sub, and I called in our buddy Adam from the Sequelquest. How are you, man?
Now, Jason, I think there might have been some miscommunication because you got your old pal, Mickey Arbor, the Retro Rambler here, just like every week. And I don't know, maybe you wanted to do a podcast with Adam, but he is not here. I'm here. He's not getting this gig. He can stay over there on Sequelquest. I'm ready to talk about Hill's Department Store, talk about my 4-phase plan for getting Pizza Hut back to its former glory. So we can just get on that even over at my eBay store. Right now, you can get pre-farted on snare drums with the TRN logo signed by me. So they are there, and your favorite Lego minifigures. So go check that out. And guys, I'm kidding. It's me. It's Adam. Just a tribute to one of my favorite guys.
Great,
Vic, love you, man. You are the coolest guy I know. I just wish I could talk like you. That's all it is.
Mickey does need his own minifigure.
Absolutely.
We need to get that hooked up and start giving those out to like our Patreon people. You sign up and back us on Patreon. You get your own Mickey minifigure. That would be great. Well, I'm glad you're here, Adam. Thanks for answering the call.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I got my nice cold glass of Tang, and I am ready to roll.
Oh, Tang! Wow, I haven't had Tang in like forever.
We got like the industrial size, box of Tang here, this little cylinder. So we take care of it.
Yeah, nothing beats Tang, man. I don't know. I could stand it back in the day. I loved like High C. Oh man, there was some great stuff like that back in the day.
I say if it's good enough for the astronauts, it's good enough for me. I'll take it.
Exactly. Hawaiian Punch. Oh my gosh, I used to drink gallons of Hawaiian Punch. And Punchy, the little there's a Funko Pop we need. Punchy, the Hawaiian Punch guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you were telling me you went golfing for the first time here. Just today?
Yeah. I channeled my inner Happy Gilmore and was invited out onto a course here locally, and pretty interesting experience. I would like to say I had something to contribute in terms of laughs on the course. That was about it. The guys who were out there with me were just like, oh dear. Like I was so bad, they didn't even try to give me pointers because they're like, we don't have enough time here. We got to get through these holes, So, but I got to get my shot. But like, this is your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me.
Yeah.
No alligators, unfortunately. I didn't get to rustle any alligators in the pond, but I sent several balls in there, so it was all good.
Oh my God. I love playing golf. I have not played, but probably once in the last couple years. I used to play a lot more, but yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't know. A lot of people find it frustrating, and I'm okay. I'm not like your, duffer, as they say. I can usually break 100. Sometimes I can even break 90, but oh gosh, I love playing golf. And as soon as you said that, we were like going back and forth with Happy Gilmore lines. And
that's right. If nothing else, you quote Happy all day long.
Or Jaws, Happy Gilmore, drive the ball 400 yards.
And I'll be waiting for you in the parking lot.
Yeah. Old jacket, green jacket. Oh, love Happy Gilmore. Anyway,
clown.
You're right. Yeah.
You're gonna die, clown. All right, we're done.
Well, I know you listened to the show, and last week we were talking about that all those crazy foods that are coming out, and I really pissed Mickey off because I went out and got the Cheez-its Pizza Hut pizza this week. The wife was like, I'm not cooking tonight. Go order some pizza. So I went over to Pizza Hut and started ordering, and I saw it was there, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I tweeted a picture to Mickey, and he writes back, traitor.
But you tried it.
I tried it. It wasn't like I was seeking it out. I just saw it was there and got it.
But it's Cheez-Its in the crust as a topping? How did they present it?
It's like they call it like fried ravioli. But
yes.
But it's looks like a Cheez-It cracker about 5 times its normal size. And you can get cheese or you can get pepperoni and cheese inside the little Cheez-It. And then you get the marinara dipping sauce to dip it in there. Well, I got the thing. I took one bite and was like, no, this is not for me. So I enjoyed the marinara sauce, just dipping my crust in there the most. Even my kids were like, this is okay. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to talk. I actually, when I make meatloaf, I mix Cheez-Its into my meatloaf. So
really?
I'm taking, I don't know if Pizza Hut's taking a page from me or what, but that's my wife took some we make these like mini meatloaf balls, and she took them to a work event. They're like, what is this? It's like, it's Cheez-Its. Okay. That's interesting.
We do the opposite thing. We make like pizza meatloaf, and we'll do like pizza sauce and pepperoni and a bunch of cheese and cook it up, and the kids love that.
Trading some recipes here.
Yeah, there we go.
Episode of Good Housekeeping or something.
But yeah, it's all good when you got the kids and you're on the run, man. You got to find little ways to jazz it up a little bit, and that's part of it. Trying to get the kids interested in what you're making, and it's not the same old stuff night after night. But anyway, that was fun this week. Yeah, Mickey, I'll be interested to hear what he has to say when we get back together, because I know he was all against that. Well, we're going to have some fun on this week's show. We've got some great stuff coming up. First, we wanted to pass along a couple announcements. Our September essay contest is officially closed, but be looking for some final entries as they're coming in. I know a couple dropped this past week, and from what I was told from Mickey, we've got a couple more to send out to you here in the first week of October. So that's going to be fun. There's been some great entries so far that I've saw, and just looking forward to that finishing up. And we've also got a fun giveaway that's live right now. I don't know if you saw this, Adam, but we're giving away one of those ugly Halloween sweaters we've been talking about. Oh, they're so glorious, man. I love just some of the patterns, and some of them's got the like Beetlejuice characters, and some are just more the traditional pumpkin and black cats and all that. But oh man, it was great to be able to partner up with HalloweenCostumes.com. And so we've got this giveaway. It's live now. We've got the giveaway embedded over there on Twitter. You can just go right there to our Twitter profile. It's pinned right there, or on the website. You can find it there. And we're going to be having that through October the 10th at midnight. You've got to get your entries in and get a chance at one of those sweaters. Did any of those kind of catch your eye, Adam?
Well, they're all interesting. What's really getting to me, though, is it feels like ugly sweaters are taking over. You know what I mean? Like, the first it was Christmas, now it's Halloween. I'm just imagining, like, Thanksgiving ugly sweaters. We're going to get into Arbor Day ugly sweaters. Like, it's just a matter of time, before every holiday that's kind of expected. So I don't know how I feel about that yet, but I wouldn't mind wearing one myself.
It's kind of hard to do in the summer holidays, though. If you're in a sweater and you've got like American flags all over it, unless you're up north or something, you get a chilly evening to put it on. But yeah, Easter Bunny sweater. Oh yeah, we could just totally go off on that, man.
Well, I feel like that's where you use it like the preppy style, and you just throw it over your shoulders, so you're not actually wearing it for warmth, but it's a total fashion statement.
Yeah. Throw it over the shoulders and take the sleeves and tie them off. Yeah, there you go. There's a fashion statement for you. All right. Well, y'all check that out. And then, of course, over there on Patreon, we're there. We just dropped a new, what I'm calling Outtakes and Stories podcast just this past week, from about a month's worth of segments and all that in between when we record these shows over there on Patreon. And then following up from what we talked about last week with our retro collections, I posted a bunch of pictures of everything I was talking about over there this past week in my little display case. But bouncing off that, since we got Adam on the show, and Mickey even mentioned in the podcast, Adam's, I guess we'll call it like a wing of your house that's just filled with collectibles.
That's how
and
my
everything.
Wife feels about it, yes.
Yeah,
it's like, your collection is taking over.
Well, we are going to follow up on that. We're going to do part 2 in this podcast, in the Time Machine, and we're going to get to hear about Adam's collection and his favorites from his childhood and everything that he has there, his most prized possessions from his collection. So that should be fun to kind of bounce off what we were talking about last week, Adam, and hear what you've got, because you've got a ton of stuff. You've got, of course, all the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in that little offshoot podcast there. But you've got just a slew of everything else too, right? Action figures and
I got a little bit of everything, and there's a few, select, areas of interest that I tend to focus on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of sharing a few of the details there and some of the rarest and most valuable items that I've got hiding on my shelves. So
awesome. Okay. Well, that's going to be coming up in the TRN Time Machine. But first, we always kick things off with the recurrent events. All right, well, Recurrent Events is sponsored by HalloweenCostumes.com this week, and you can get 15% off your entire order through October 5th, which is actually the same deal you can get through our exclusive link that we're going to put in the show notes, 15% off, and ours actually is through October 31st. So all you got to do is click the link. There's no promo code. You just head over there, and then your discount is automatically taken from your cart when you are ready to check out. Mickey put together a fun little article just a couple of days ago on his favorite Halloween sweaters. So be sure to check that out as you are thinking of ordering over there on HalloweenCostumes.com. But we've got some fun stuff to get to. Looks like in the world of movies, Adam, that Jason Bateman is in talks now to write and star in the Clue remake, which is also tied to Ryan Reynolds, who is set to produce. Don't have any other details at this point or a release date, but what do you feel about doing a Clue remake? Were you a fan of the original?
Well, that's the thing. So Clue is one of those movies. I own it on VHS only because everybody talks about how fantastic it is, how wonderful it is. And I love a lot of the actors in there, Michael McKean and Tim Curry and all these guys. But it's a movie I've never actually sat down to watch all the way. And so like I wouldn't really have any major objection to them doing that other than since Teen Wolf 2, I don't know what movie Jason Bateman has made that I'm interested in. You know, like that Bad Bosses movie, or he was in Hitchcock or not Hitchcock, Hancock with Will Smith.
Oh, yes.
You know,
yes.
Stuff like that.
Wow.
I don't think he's had a good movie role. You know, he's a TV guy, and he's had his most success on TV. And same with Ryan Reynolds. Like I'm not on the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool train, so like the two of them teamed up is like zero interest for me. Okay. I'm just like, I'd let it go.
Yeah, I remember watching Clue probably when it was on like Comedy Central. It wasn't something I got into back in the day, and just thumbed through Comedy Central one time several years ago when I still had cable and watching that. So, and that was never really a movie I connected with. And I'm kind of the same way. Jason Bateman, what was the movie he did with Melissa McCarthy? I can't remember.
She produces so many movies. I don't know who's in her co-star movies. Was that the spy one? Was that, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but I had not seen that one. And I'm kind of the same way with Ryan Reynolds. I haven't really got into the Deadpool movies. I haven't seen the second one. I saw the first one like one time, and okay. So if you want to pull off Clue, go for it, man.
And what I think the only thing that would maybe interest me is that, the big draw of the original release of Clue is that there were multiple endings, right? Just like in the game, there were multiple endings that, outcomes that you could have. So if they found a really cool way, just like whether it is like in social media or like you unlock a different ending, or literally like different cities are going to have different endings, or if you go to a midnight screening or whatever, like something to make it an event, I think that could be very fun just from like a marketing standpoint to get people interested. But just as a general concept, I don't know how successful that will be.
Yeah, they got to have a good ensemble cast too, for each character. But I think you're onto something there. That would be fun to have like a different ending in different parts of the country or something, and then you have to wait until the Blu-ray comes out or something to get all of them, and choose whichever one you like, whatever. That might be enough to get me to the theater. See.
Then you tell your friends, which ending did you get?
Right. Yeah, and with all of us connected with the Retro Network, you're more on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. Other people are up north. So, yeah, that would be fun. All right, well, this next one that we're going to be talking about really caught my eye because I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan, Jurassic World. They just announced this past week that Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum are returning for, quote, major roles in Jurassic World 3. And did you see this short film that they just released?
I did watch it. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't know why they did it other than to say it's been a couple years since a Jurassic World film existed. So they're like, we got to keep it fresh in people's minds. I mean, it's just like a little tiny one-off adventure, But the best part of it is the credits, because in the credits, they show fake viral video footage of dinosaurs like interacting in the world. So like, people filming a wedding and then like, a pterodactyl swoops in, or like just different things like that. And that, if they made the movie almost like a found footage movie with the dinosaurs, that would be interesting to me. I thought that was a really cool, like just little bit that they put on, just kind of seemed to throw into the credits and pepper throughout.
I didn't even stay for the credits, so I need to go back and watch it. Okay. It was, the dinosaurs battling it out, and people were nearby and rolling around in trailers.
Yeah, it reminded me of The Lost World.
Yeah. It was, it wasn't like it was some big ordeal or anything. It was kind of the typical what you would expect with Jurassic World or Jurassic Park. But I have to go back and look at the credits now.
Yeah, definitely check them out.
But I'm excited. I mean, we got Jeff Goldblum just for a little bit in the last, I think it was the last one.
Right.
Which I wasn't really impressed with anyway. I would like to see them brought back in supposedly that, being a major role and having them, be a major part of the movie, going to different parts and, trying to, I don't know how in the world they're going to.
Yeah.
Since the dinosaurs are rampant now and everywhere, how they're going to be able to pull that off and get rid of them. But I'm excited. I've the original, and even people seem to poop on number 3, but I like 3 as well.
Me too. Yeah, I feel like I'm one of the few that is down with, because as soon as Sam Neill comes back, it legitimizes a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World property to me. And I thought that third movie was actually really cool. People were like, oh, well, yeah, that kid who was surviving out in the wilderness. But I was like, but it wasn't as bad as having Jeff Goldblum's daughter who could swing around and kick a raptor out a window. Like it wasn't that ridiculous. The kid had weapons at least, so it made sense. But yeah, so when I heard that too, I was like, I was very surprised, because I was like, really? But then at the same time, you look at their careers, like Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum are popping up in like very small, like supporting roles in like Star Wars or Marvel films, but Sam Neill, we haven't seen in a while, and none of them are really headlining anything. So this seems like the perfect time to get them back into the world, so to speak.
I agree. Yes. Yeah, Sam Neill. I love Sam Neill. So as soon as he's mentioned, like you said, man, I'm on board. Let's do it. So that's actually scheduled. We're going to have to wait a little bit on that one. That's June 11th of 2021.
Yeah, hang in there. In the meantime, I'm going to have to deal with, just to fill the void that Mick has left here. I've got right in front of me my Jurassic Park trading cards from 1993. Just in a little plastic case that I keep them in. So I'm looking at, the logo card right now. So definitely fortuitous.
I've got some of the comic book adaptations of Jurassic Park. I think it was like a 3 or 4 issue set, but I don't think I've got them all. But I need to go back and collect those, because I love the comic book adaptations of movies. So, okay, well, we're going to move on. Actually, some sad news that I saw, and Adam wanted to remind me that I saw as well. The Karate Kid and Cobra Kai actor Rob Garrison passed away at 59. He played Tommy in the Cobra Kai gang. And I had not actually realized, because I hadn't watched season 2 yet, that they brought him back for Cobra Kai. Have you got up to that episode yet?
I haven't. I paid to watch Cobra Kai season 1, which is, now free and everything. And I was like, but so I really enjoyed it, but it just, I didn't feel the need to come back in. I was like, I actually kind of liked how they left it. So I probably will check it out soon enough. But, because I know that, Kreese comes back and a bunch of other stuff that they've kind of let leak. So I think it's going to be exciting to watch, but I haven't made the time for that one just yet. But I have to applaud the internet for their restraint, because if you don't know, this is the irony of get him a body bag, it's that guy. So the fact that has not become a terribly in bad taste meme, I say good job, internet. We're learning something, at least not in my circles. I have not seen it.
I haven't seen it either. I saw I think maybe it was a tweet or something when I pulled up that it was trending. somebody saying to that effect, don't don't use the body
Don't
bag
do
line.
it, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. I was going to try to wait until some more of those episodes came out, because as much as I like how they're kind of extending it and not giving us all the episodes at once, I still want to wait so I can binge at least 2 or 3 episodes together. But I did see a what looked like some kind of campground or campfire footage that they might be bringing back more than just Rob Garrison to the mix in season 2. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
anxious
it's nice
to see
that they at least got him in before that happened.
Yeah.
So that's great that they were able to get a little bit more of the original cast involved. So it's nice that he's there forever now, back in the fold.
Yep, that was good. Now, speaking of kind of reboots in TV,
And karate, for that matter.
A karate, yes. I was very surprised to see this. Walker, Texas Ranger is getting a reboot, and it's going to be starring Supernatural's Jared Padalecki, according to Deadline. The twist is, this time, Walker's partner is going to be a female. I was reading a little bit. They're trying to determine which network it's going to be on. It could be at the CW, which is where Supernatural is right now, or, of course, CBS. They they love these reboots. MacGyver, Magnum P.I., Hawaii Five-0. So I would guess it might land at CBS, which I think was actually the network that the original Walker, Texas Ranger
that's
was
what I was
airing.
going to say. It would make sense if they brought it back there.
And this is so weird because I was huge. I mean, I did not miss a Saturday night to watch Walker, Texas Ranger. I think it was Saturday. It might have been Friday night back in the early to mid 90s. And I had not watched the show in forever. The other night, I'm just flipping past channels on Pluto. There's Walker, Texas Ranger. And I got into an episode and started watching. So this coming up, I was like, wow, that was kind of weird timing.
Yeah, well, that's
go back and watch an
interesting because,
episode.
for me, I wasn't a Walker, Texas Ranger. If it was CBS, I was watching Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, or Nash Bridges. Those are my CBS shows that I would tune in for. But I have a funny, just quick Chuck Norris story, which is that, on the heels of the Karate Kid and growing up as an 80s kid going into the 90s, of course, I got into taking karate classes like so many of us did. And my sensei, my karate instructor, it was a guy named Bob Barrows, and he actually had been trained by Chuck Norris.
Wow.
And so he would, as part of the incentive to you kind of practice and get a little bit better, if you were kind of like the VIP of the week, you were the star student, you would get an autographed Chuck Norris photo.
Oh, wow.
And that was what you would get, and I never got it because I was not the best Karate Kid there, but it was always dangling in front of me, So. Maybe that's why I didn't watch Walker, Texas Ranger. I was like, Chuck Norris.
I don't need no stupid autograph picture. Yeah. I think Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman was right before, because we would catch the tail end of that, which none of us liked, and then we'd get into Walker, Texas Ranger.
Come on, Bret the Hitman Hart was on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman at some point.
No, we didn't get into that, but we knew a family that had, I guess, moved away a couple years ago. Their sons were into karate, and they started doing these shows where they're twirling the bow staffs, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, they're incredible. I mean, take baton twirling that you would see at a football game, and then take that to the nth degree. And they're incredible. Well, they actually got to perform and were in the presence of Chuck Norris. And I got video, I've seen video on Facebook of them meeting him after the show and all this stuff. It was great. I was like, oh man, I was so jealous. He probably would never want to meet me just because I'm not into karate or anything. But anyway,
Chuck is everywhere. Can't get away from Chuck Norris.
Gosh. So that should be interesting to see where that lands. No timetable on when Walker, Texas Ranger would debut. I'm assuming probably in the fall next year or something like that. And then finally, this was fun, Adam. just going through my feed and see that Huey Lewis and the News are releasing a new album next year. And they've released the first single. This is incredible because they have not released an album in 20 years, like original stuff. They've done like the cover album, which was Soulsville. And, back in the, mid 90s, I think, was when they did It's All Right But It's All Right and all those covers of the 50s tunes. But, man, they got some original stuff coming. And this new track, Her Love Is Killing Me, I sent over to you. What did you think?
22 frame. She's got soul. She's got a lot of heart. Knows how to make the best plans fall apart. I ain't worth half the man I used to be. Her love is killing me.
Well, it was interesting, yeah, because like I obviously very aware of Huey Lewis and the News. I never owned the Sports album or anything like that, but they're always on classic rock radio, popping up in movies and everything else. I even have in my collection a big box Warner Brothers VHS of Huey Lewis and the News live, the Heart of Rock and Roll concert. So I was actually watching that leading up to this show, and so when I listened to Her Love Is Killing Me, it's 100% what you would expect from Huey Lewis. I mean, it's got a good hook to it. It's got the horns. It's got everything. And his voice sounds exactly the same as it always did. And so I think it's a nice little track. The only thing for me was just something about the production of it. It feels a little thin. Like I say, all the elements are there, but it's not as bombastic as their classic stuff, a little less synthesizer and other kind of 80s effects that they would kind of pepper in as well. But it's a real solid song. So I was like, that's exciting. How about you?
Yeah, well, I was pleasantly surprised. I think you're right. There wasn't the amount of horns and stuff that they had, in most of their music. But hearing about Huey and his hearing loss problem, you need your hearing to be able to sing. It doesn't sound like he's missed a beat after going through all of that. And I don't know if he had surgery or what all was going on with his hearing, but man, it sounds like it could have been like that next record after, what was it? Perfect World, I think was
Small World or something.
Small World. Yeah. That was towards the end of the 80s. And then it could have been like right after that, man. It sounded really good. So I'm interested. I'm really excited to hear the new album and see if it really patches in to what we're used to, 30 years ago. Because
it's interesting because their type of music is what I always call dad rock. You know what I mean? It was in that period, they weren't that old back then, but to me, they might as well have been 48,
right.
When they were recording that, they just all seemed super old. And it was and even Eddie Money, he just talked about who passed away in last episode, they always just seemed like old men making old style music, even though it was popular and on the radio, but in a way that allows them to be timeless. So it's not like he wasn't super young and in spandex with, flared out hair and everything back in the way. He's literally dressing the same way he did then. Right. He's got a beard now, that's the difference, so you can get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, they're just the all-American crew.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, like you said, there's just truly timeless. I was huge into Sports and those two albums mainly back in the day. I do remember picking up the Small World. Can't remember if it's Small World or Perfect World. Anyway, I remember getting those three albums and I wore them out in my car. So yeah, I mean, it's just they just decided to pick up the instruments again after, whatever, several years. And it just sounds the same as they always have. It's crazy. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. Just such a throwback. It's great. Looking forward to that. Well, that's going to wrap up kind of our recurrent events. I'm going to do our streaming scheme for October. I just kind of went through what was on Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, and what's coming up here in October. This is for the retro-minded people like we are, Adam. Some of the stuff we might be excited to watch again that we might have missed over the last several years. Coming to Netflix October 1st, we've been talking, we actually talked about I guess it's a sequel to Bad Boys. and Bad Boys 1 and 2 are coming to Netflix October 1st. Have you watched the new Carmen Sandiego animated series?
I turned it on for my kids because I was like, what's this going to be about? And they watched like the first 2 episodes and were kind of over it. But my son like corrected me on some things. So I'm like, isn't she a thief? And they're trying to catch her. But he said that she's like sort of a little bit more altruistic and good in this series. And I was like, huh. So, but I did pay too close attention.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I've scrolled past it many times and been like, maybe not.
Yeah, instead I just literally played the rockapella Carmen Sandiego theme song for my kids. They're like, what is this? I'm like, this is rockapella. Come on.
Oh, my God. I watched that every afternoon, man. That was such a great show. It's such a hard bonus game too, man. I don't know if I ever saw anybody win it. All those blinking lights that they had to move around. That was crazy. Also coming up on Netflix, we got Supergirl, the 2 Flintstones movies, if you're into that.
Now, let me clarify, Jason. Is Supergirl the Helen Slater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's finally here, because they've been showing the TV show for quite a while on Netflix. So I'm excited to know, because that's actually one of my all-time favorite rentals as a kid was Supergirl.
Yeah.
And, I actually have some memorabilia in my collection of Supergirl, the movie. So I'm excited that other people will get to finally see it, and we'll find out what their opinion is. But I'm not defending it as a good movie, but I do have the Blu-ray and the VHS editions. So
I need to revisit. I'm glad it's coming, because I have not watched in probably 20 years. So we'll be I'll be checking that one out. So what else we got coming? The 2 Flintstone movies, like I said, we got the Rugrats movie and the Rugrats in Paris. And then this really isn't retro, but everybody's talking about the new Breaking Bad movie, El Camino, that's coming. Did you get into Breaking Bad at all?
I did not. I was hearing so much about it. It was just like, The Sopranos and everything else. Like, I heard so much, I was like, I don't need to see this show. I'm sure it is awesome, but Bryan Cranston will always be the dad from Malcolm in the Middle for me. So
you're taking the Mickey Matrix approach to this.
That's right.
I've seen enough. I don't need to watch it. I'm not really excited for it. I did enjoy the Breaking Bad show, but I'm kind of past it now, so whatever. And then this was interesting. October 29th on Netflix, Arsenio Hall's doing a stand-up special, Smart and Classy. After we've been talking about him, where's Arsenio? Where's he been? He's coming back and doing some comedy. Thought that was interesting.
Awesome. Yeah. I actually recently saw some vintage Arsenio stand-up, because I ended up with a VHS tape at my local thrift store that somebody had just recorded off TV, like home recorded tapes, my favorite. And it was the 15-year anniversary of the Comedy Store, stand-up nightclub. And he was one of the featured acts, because he had started there. And so he was doing all his bits and stuff. He was talking about Mike Tyson. And he's like, they gotta get Mike Tyson to fight an elephant. Like he was doing all this stuff. His fights are over too quick, stuff like that. So that was pretty funny. Just that vintage Mike Tyson before the ear biting, it's just like that was all people complained about, Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's coming up at the end of October over there on Netflix. On Hulu, we've got coming out October 1st, the Blade trilogy, Boys in the Hood, Cadillac Man. Oh, I love Cadillac Man. Robin Williams and Tim Robbins. Oh, such a great movie. Days of Thunder. We talked about the Face Off remake. Well, Face Off is coming to Hulu October 1st. And then we've got, it's October. We need some like horror and Halloween stuff. And there was a few like new little cartoon specials that I saw, but nothing really jumped out at me for October. But we've got Hellraiser 1, 3, and 4. I don't know where 2 is. That's coming to Hulu. One of my favorite like sports movies, probably my favorite basketball movie, is Hoosiers. That's coming. Platoon, Rain Man, 16 Candles, Tales from the Dark Side. I've never seen this. This was a 1990 movie. Buckaroo Banzai, Naked Gun, the first 2 Naked Gun movies. Total Recall and Witness. Any of those jump out at you?
Well, Boys in the Hood is particularly special to me because in my college English class, I remember our professor had us watch Boys in the Hood, and he held that up as like a seminal piece of writing and how you plot a story and everything else. So we had to like study the script, and we had to like write essays about it and stuff. So that's always a film that has been near and dear to me. Surprisingly, that was what he held up and presented to us.
I don't know if I've ever seen the whole thing, to be honest. Well, I've definitely not scrutinized it as much as you have. Well, let's move over to Amazon, which this was weird. Again, Amazon's releasing a lot of their stuff on September 30th. So as you're listening to this, it's already available to watch. Air Force One. I got a fun story about seeing Air Force One. Big Top Pee-wee, Days of Thunder, like we mentioned, and Face Off over there on Hulu. That's also going to be on Amazon. Harlem Nights. You've got Mad Max 2 and Beyond Thunderdome. All 3 Naked Gun movies. Platoon. Stargate, which I have not seen in a while, but I love Stargate. I never got into like the TV series. I think they had maybe 2 different shows.
Yeah, they did.
Spun off, but
Stargate,
I never
like SG-1 and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was MacGyver, right?
Yeah, with
Richard
MacGyver.
Yeah, it took what's his head's place? Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
So have not watched any of the TV series, but I did like the movie. Also, that some of the same ones coming to Amazon that were over on Hulu: Tales from the Dark Side, Buckaroo Banzai, Total Recall, and Witness.
It cracks me up that if you want to get the 3rd Naked Gun movie, you got to get Amazon Prime. Like it's like you got Hulu, you're out of luck. You don't get 33 and a third. You don't get no. That cracks me up that somehow would be a package deal that you get all 3 regardless.
Which app is just taking 33 and a third? That's what I want to know. It's crazy, but that's a little bit of a glimpse at your streaming for October. And coming up, it's our Time Machine segment, and we're gonna do part 2 of our most prized collectibles, and we'll get to hear all about Adam's setup and everything right after this.
Hey gang, you know me as a stand-up guy who never backs down from a tough interview. Well, now I'm going toe-to-toe with the Big Burger Boys with my Mean Gene Burgers. And this is your chance to order a Mean Gene t-shirt. Mean Gene's Burgers.
The burger that says, "Bite me."
Wear it to work, to a party, to your next court appearance, wherever you want to make a real fashion statement. Call the number on your screen and order yours now.
Call now to order your Mean Gene's t-shirt for just $19.95 plus shipping and handling.
So this is the new Hurricane. Hoo-wee! Glad it's on our side, Hondo.
Tracker here. Assemble masks. Intruder closing in.
It's a venom stinger. Look out! Hurricane engaged.
Vehicles each sold separately with a figure.
Firefly heading for the sky.
Mask, where illusion is the ultimate weapon.
I'm getting out of here.
Mask, Hurricane, Firefly, and Stinger. Each sold separately. New from Kenner.
All right, welcome back for the TRN Time Machine segment, and it is sponsored again by Retro Days, DAZE.org. And now that we've got Adam here, maybe Adam can tell us what's coming up on the next RD's detention. Are you allowed to reveal that?
Well, we teased it at the end of the RoboCop episode. If you're not staying after the credits, make sure that you do, because we always have a little teaser, either gag or, and this time it's actually leading into the next episode. You saw a little glimpse of Mother Brain from the Captain N, the Game Master cartoon. So she has been hired by Principal Hamato to humble RD. And so he might be taking a trip to Videoland and getting involved in some of your favorite Nintendo franchises. Plus, there's a couple, special collectibles to show off as always. So that's coming up. And a little bit later on, we are also working on a Simpsons themed episode, which is going to be fun because we are now in the 30th year since their holiday special premiered, and then getting into 1990, just like when the actual proper show began. So yeah, we always got something to do with the hopper, but those are the next two topics if they excite you: Nintendo and The Simpsons.
Yeah, I'll see how Tony can do that effect where he puts you into the TV.
Oh, yeah, that's why this one's taking a little bit longer to put out because, yeah, we're always stretching the limits of our abilities.
And please feel free to change the voice of Mother Brain because that just bugged the crap out of me. Even as a kid, I was like, oh, that just like screaming and yelling, Mother Brain, shut up.
I'm such a fan of it that I'm doing my impression of Mother Brain, so I will be giving it my all. So sorry, Jason.
Well, I'll grin and bear it for you, Adam.
There you go.
Because I love the series. It's been really fun. So be sure to go check that out and make sure you subscribe to the Retro Days YouTube channel, and you'll get to see all those fun episodes that Adam and Tony are putting out. It's been really great. But let's get into our own little collectibles here. And let me just start out by asking, like we did last week, how much of your childhood collection, I'll say, toys, whatever, were you able to preserve, or do you still have to this day?
Yeah, I have a fair amount. Now, there have been these periods, much like Mick brought up, where you get into the purge mindset, right? So there have been times where it's like, oh, we're having a garage sale. Okay, well, I could part with this, I could part with that. But there are things that I've kind of held dear in terms of like. I guess, like, for example, I've got a lot of my Marvel Comics action figures by Toy Biz. I mean, I was just in toy aisles every week, scraping up money from the couch to go buy a new action figure. So I still have X-Men figures. I used to have like 40 or 50 X-Men figures, and I'm down to like 10. Like, because I donated some for a charity one time, including like the play sets of the Danger Room for Wolverine and Cyclops. I'm like, why did I do that? Some of my Marvel superheroes. I still have a nice collection also of my Spider-Man the Animated Series figures. So that those 90s figures were a big deal. But I have like my original Optimus Prime I still have, so I've hung on to that. And even like a Batman cape, like it's like a very like light blue cape that was just for kids, a little tie on it that you could wear and play Batman. I used to have a Superman and a Batman, so I've hung on to that. And depending on how far you want to go, like I have like all my Marvel trading cards and my Pogs and all that, my comic books. Like I've hung on to those for a long time, and those are very special to me. Even like I'm a big fan of the movie The Shadow, the 1994 Alec Baldwin film. Okay. And so I have a whole wall devoted to The Shadow, and I had a lot of those figures that I bought like from Toys R Us because they went on clearance super fast back in the day. So I had like a collection, but now I have a full like in-box collection, which is not hard to do. A small line, they don't go for very much anymore, but I have like the carrying case, I have everything. So I have like loose and in-box. So the loose ones were my originals that I actually played with back in the day. So
Fun.
Even though I was older. Did you think of any others that you still hung on to that are hiding? Okay.
Yes, I've got a few that I'll throw out there as we kind of get in and go back and forth on our most prized collectibles. And I did share one on Patreon that I didn't mention on last week's show that I'll talk about today. But so you mentioned you got like a wall dedicated to The Shadow. So I've got a wall here in my wonderful recording studio that is just random stuff, signage and posters and stuff that I've just wanted to get up on a wall somewhere. And I thought maybe when I'm doing a video, you could see it in the background, but that hasn't really worked out. You'd mentioned you've got a wall, but like, take me through your setup. Like, is it like do you have like a full room? Is it beyond one room or?
Yeah. So it's like, I have a basement area where we have these rooms that are built out. And so, yeah, I literally like, that was the first thing when we were buying the house. Like it took a while before like we got all our furniture and everything moved in. So when I was hanging out, I was just putting up shelves. I'm just marking everything where it's all going to be. So like literally I have, like as you walk in, I got a shelf that's a 2-tiered situation where I got all my Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 merchandise. Up above that is a shared shelf with, inappropriately so, Transformers and G.I. Joe, where I have a lot of those big box VHS and figures and things I talked about from those shows. I have a Actually, the biggest area is my back wall, where I actually have like I framed a bunch of the trading cards I was just talking about. Since I collected so many, I had so many doubles that I made like, kind of a collage and created these framed things that have the actual packages of the cards in there with holograms and everything else, with ads from comic books put over it. So it's like a full presentation of Marvel Series 1 through 3, the first 3 series of the Marvel Masterpieces line. And then in the middle of it all is the 2099 comic book line. I was a big fan when that came out. And so I have all the original issue covers laid out, and then with trading cards that are, associated with that, plus kind of your, what is it, decollage? What do you call that?
Decoupage.
Decoupage, but like in the background of all like different pages from the comics and stuff. Nice. In addition, that's where I keep all my Spider-Man stuff, and Black Costume and Venom Spider-Man figures are all in boxes on the wall hanging and stuff. So yeah, there's stuff like that all over.
So how do you like attack your collection? If you're going to add to it, is it just kind of more of a random thing where you're maybe searching on eBay or something, come across a piece, you're like, oh, this would be good to add to that? Or, are you down at the local thrift store and that's perfect and I'll grab that? Or is it more of all right, I want to get everything back from this line? Or how do you tackle collecting?
Yeah,
now?
I mean, like, obviously for me, it is very nostalgic. So I definitely focus on things, kind of reclaiming my childhood toy collection in many ways, but then adding to it, because I had friends who had so many more. They had like closets full of every Kenner toy line and every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figure and every, and so like I was always like playing at their houses and be like, well, I have like 4 or 5, but I don't have that many. And so I kind of like to grow that way. But what I do is I prefer a line that was smaller, like the Shadow. It's like didn't last very long, so I can't get the whole series. Otherwise, I'm not going to go all in and say, okay, well, I got to be on eBay every day, or I got to, I wish I could go to RetroCon as often as I'd like and dig through the boxes like you did there, because that would make my day. But so I usually just pick one thing. And so right now, for example, one of the things I'm focusing on is in 1990, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's actually what a lot of people consider a misstep or an embarrassment in the history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But the Coming Out of Their Shells album and live tour, the concert that they took on the road, promoted by Pizza Hut. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Sure, Mick does. And but I've unironically loved that album since it came out, and it's always been in my car, the cassette tape, and I've converted it to CD so I can listen to it, converted it to MP3. And so leading up to the 30th anniversary of that album next year, I've just been focusing my collecting time on that and, trying to find what I can here and there. So, I've got even up to a Mexican release of the album, re-recorded by Mexican musicians and artists. It's all in Spanish. It has extra tracks, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's so fun to hear the alternate takes and everything. I've got my eye on an album from Israel where they did the same thing. So in Hebrew, Hebrew Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hebrew Ninja Turtles.
I just got a T-shirt from the tour too, like from the crew. So I was really excited about that, because those don't come up very often for as cheap as I got it. Yeah. So
I laugh, but I'm big into the Mobile Armored Strike Command, and they never released a soundtrack, but the only thing that they have released, like as far as audio goes, is a 45 record in France that's in French. Like the theme song is in French. And I've seen it, circling around, and some of my other buddies in the community, they've got it. And I'm like, oh, that would be so cool to own. But why do you need it in French or Spanish? I mean,
well, you know the American version so well. You want to hear it, from the French perspective. Le Masque. But I mean, even there is a French version of the album too that I'm trying to get, and I bought it on a French, eBay style site, but the guy wouldn't send it to me because he's like, the shipping is too much. And I'm like, well, I'll pay you. He's, there's no way to do it. I was like, oh, whatever. So I'm trying to work it. I have a friend in England. I'm like, well, maybe you could send it to her and then she could ship it to me because that's Europe. It'll be cheaper, so all that. But all the odds and ends, so that's what I like to do is to say, okay, so now it's something I can keep my eye out on. I mentioned in the VHS collecting episode, also my Troop Beverly Hills collection,
right, yeah,
of all the tapes from International too. But yeah, so that's usually what I like to do is, and I am at the thrift store like every day, but we have one thrift store in town and it's a small town, so I don't. Every once in a while, I'll find like a Ghostbusters firehouse, and I'm like, what, but that is rare,
Yeah,
so.
It's weird, like just going to thrift stores. Even the ones we've got, like maybe 3 or 4 here, counting Goodwill. But yeah, you just walk in there and just like I found that Batman record, out of nowhere. I was in one probably about 2 weeks ago, and sitting on a random just table, a booth that had nothing to do with like trading cards, toys, anything really. There was a full deck or full set of Rocketeer trading cards. Like $2. I'm like, okay, I didn't really get into the movie, but it's the complete set.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. I'm like, okay. So you just never can tell. And, people
I might have to coordinate a trade with you for those. Well, they're great.
Bring it on, man. Bring it on. But yeah, it's just weird going in there and you would think you're going to see the same stuff every time. No, it's just different. Every time you go in there, it seems like on the thrift stores. But okay, well, let's get down to it. Let's hear one of your most prized pieces in your collection.
Okay, so I kind of broke it down into categories as I was looking at the 5, because I was like, okay, where can these all fall? So I thought I'd start with one which is the most rare. As far as I know, I'm the only person that actually owns this.
Ooh.
And this is, so last year was the 25th anniversary of the Arnold Schwarzenegger film Last Action Hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a film I saw in theaters, I've always loved. And, even though it got beaten out by Jurassic Park.
You're the person.
It was actually released. That's me, yeah. I just thought it was clever and it's fun. And so I was writing an article and I was collecting a couple random things because even this will be an upcoming Sequelquest Rewind show, but we did a sequel to Last Action Hero as one of our shows to celebrate that. And as I was searching around, I found somebody because there was supposed to be, it was advertised on the trading cards of Last Action Hero that there was a comic book that was going to be released by Topps, who did the Jurassic Park comics you were talking about, Jason.
Yep.
And so I looked everywhere. I was searching for like a year on eBay, waiting for this Last Action Hero comic book to show up to find an image online. Nothing ever surfaced. So I started just doing more research and I finally found a listing. Last Action Hero comic book insert. Promo cards. And so I went in there and this guy is saying, I am the artist who designed these cards. They were never released because the comic book was never released. Because by the time they had it done, the film had already tanked. And so there was no point in trying to sell that comic because they figured nobody would buy it. And so he was selling them and not for very much at all. So I bought them and I actually did a whole interview with him that's over on Retro Days because he designed all sorts of trading card sets, including Marvel and Universal Monsters and a bunch of them back then, even basketball cards and things. And so I have the only complete set of Last Action Hero trading cards that were supposed to be inserted into the never released comic book.
Wow.
That he got from the Topps offices because after the whole situation just went down, he went to visit them for another assignment. They're like, look, we're not supposed to give these away. We're going to destroy them. But you worked on these, so we figured you'd want a set for yourself. I was like,
and
wow.
He gave them, and he sold them to you.
Sold them to me. Yeah, so I've got them. If anybody out there is listening, if you're the ultimate Last Action Hero collector, this is the Last Action Hero collectible to get.
Wow, that's cool, man. I love hearing because that stuff where it's just one guy that's working on something and never makes it to. They never let that stuff go. That's just interesting that he would sell it. So when you need the money, I guess. That's good. I will admit, I have never seen Last Action Hero.
Oh no!
Never seen it.
That's a big mistake.
No. Yes, I know.
That's his catchphrase.
So yeah, when Mick sits down to watch Matrix, I'll watch Last Action Hero.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Double feature.
Right. Well, one that I posted up there to Patreon was, of course, I'm huge into Batman, and I was in a thrift store locally several times and saw this thing, and it was just calling to me. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with it? Okay. I don't know if it's complete. I still don't know if it's complete because I've never put it together. But it was just sitting there, and I'm like, well, somebody's going to take it, and then I'm going to regret not getting it. It is a Batman Returns Batmobile play tent. And it's shaped like the Batmobile. And the from the picture, there's a person that kind of can ride in back, and then there's a person that can stick his head, through the roof. But I have never put it together. I just never sat down. I was like, okay, let's go ahead and put it together, and I'll let my daughter, drive the Batmobile. So I got to do that soon. But I think I paid like $13 for it. Oh, and just from looking inside, it looks like all of it's one of those old ones where they had like almost like little PVC pipes to put together to hold the Batmobile up. And it looks to be complete because it had its like original packaging in there. It was just opened. So I've got that with the box and everything. I took a picture of that and put it up there on Patreon.
Set it right next to your Trapper Keeper, right?
Right, yeah. So I've got to put that together and take some pictures of it with my daughter in there.
Well, I just remember back in the day, I mean, the only place you'd really see those were like the Sears catalog, right? Like nobody ever actually bought those play tents. It felt like maybe they'd get the sleeping bag, and you'd take that to a sleepover, but I never knew anybody that had the tents.
Right, yeah, and you would think that it would come in just like a plain Jane brown box. It wouldn't have its own box or anything that you would put on a shelf somewhere. So that's what kind of stood out to me. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get it. But I'm going to have to like hang it from the ceiling or something. Maybe I'll like make it a bat wing instead of a Batmobile. Yeah. Add some wings to it or something. But that's another prized piece in my collection that I guess, I don't know. Maybe it's not such a prized piece if I haven't put it together yet, but I've had it for about a year or so.
Keeping it safe,
Yeah, that's right. All right. What's something else for you?
All right. So for me, as we discussed earlier, if we're going to talk about the Shadow again, like I say, major part of my collection. So there was an offer with these that they wanted you to save your proofs of purchase, right? Just like the mail away back in the day, mail away for Clark Kent, or the fridge, or Sergeant Slaughter, whatever it was going to be. And you had to get your proofs of purchase and send those out. So I actually, back in the day when I was buying these, I still have my card backs where I cut out, the proof of purchase, and I had them ready to go. And I never mailed it. And what you were going to get if you had mailed it was a lenticular shadow agent ring. So it it flickers back and forth and it says the shadow and all that. And so that was the only thing in my collection I didn't have for so long. And it was like the biggest regret for me. Cause I did it. I made everything except putting a stamp on the envelope and taking it to the post office, and I never had done it. And so 20 years later, and I also been searching on eBay forever to try to find it. And nobody ever seemed to be putting them up. And then all of a sudden there was just a flood of them, 1 month. I don't know what it was, but the rings popped up and I finally got one and it's still sealed in the package that, just a little plastic bag that it came in. But that was literally the cherry on top, that's the crowning jewel of my Shadow collection, just the idea that I can actually have the mail away item, because again, your collection's not complete until you have that. So that's something very personally special to me.
I have a Mask Thunderhawk Hot Wheels car that was a mail away. That wasn't mine. I've actually bought it off eBay, but that is, and it's still in the package too. The thing is, the Thunderhawk has the gull wing doors, so it can open and fly. Well, these open straight out, so it's not correct. I was like, this is such a disappointment. But mail away, the last mail away thing I can remember sending away for, and I was so disappointed. Back when the Dream Team hit the Olympics, remember that? That was 92, I think. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, when they all joined the Olympic team, and that was such a huge deal. They had you could send in on, I think it was Cheerios or Wheaties, one of the cereals. You could send in and get a jacket that was, you could choose which player you wanted on your jacket. I'm a huge Lakers fan. So, of course, I mailed away for the Magic Johnson jacket, and I had several other friends. We were all, on the basketball team that sent away to get jackets so we could all be cool and walk down the street and, hey, we got our Dream Team jackets on. So we get these and I don't know how much we were supposed to send in. It was practically nothing, like $5 or something. So right away I'm thinking, okay, so what kind of jackets are these going to be made out of and stuff? We get these back, and I swear they were made out of paper. Oh. They were just like, it was like not even like hefty bag material. It was horrible. And you could have, I don't know, you could have flexed and ripped it, like Tommy Boy. But I don't know what I ever did with that jacket. I probably stored it away, and it just disintegrated, after 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just came to mind. I didn't do a lot of mail-aways, but I remember that being a big deal because we were going to be, all cool with these jackets, and they never happened. So, oh, geez. Well, speaking of Mask, and a lot of people who know me knows I'm a huge fan. I've got a podcast and another site that I, contribute to that is just for Mask fans. I still have kind of what started it all for me was I've got a Hurricane, which was the blue 57 Chevy with the flames on it.
Yeah.
I remember getting that for my birthday, probably maybe around 10. So like maybe 1986, maybe 87, 10 or 11. Still have the original one. And that's the only one in my entire collection that I have of the vehicles. That was one that I had as a kid. I had a bunch. I had mainly the small ones, the motorcycles, and that weird billboard that you stuck the guy in. Billboard blast. I had some of those kind of oddball ones, and didn't have the big ones like Rhino and some of the other vehicles that were more sought after. But I went through this whole period, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, where I pretty much became a dealer on eBay and collected. I think I've got the first 3 waves complete, and then the last one, which was the split second series, I'm missing like 2.5. There's this one motorcycle that I've got the body for, but I don't have the actual bike for. But that was just, I don't know. I've never done that before where I'm like, I got to collect everything in the series and vintage, Mm-hmm. I didn't go as far as like collecting boxes and all that because I wanted them out. I have 2 boys, and at the time they were that perfect age for cars and stuff. So I wanted them to gently play with them as I collected. Those are in 2 huge plastic bins in my closet. Sadly, I just don't have the room to display that. The huge Boulder Hill playset, the gas station. Oh, it's glorious, but I just don't have anywhere to put that. So I'm at to the point where I need to buy a bigger house just so I can display all my collectibles that I want to.
Makes me feel bad because I passed up a Thunderhawk at a thrift store the other day because the doors had been broken off.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have just bought it anyway just to have it. But the one that I had growing up and I would love to get back someday was that one that was Miles Mayhem and his twin that like it split off.
Buzzard.
Yeah. I loved that. I had so much fun with that growing up. Yeah.
It was like an Indy car, and there was like a middle part that became the jet, and then you had the 2 that split off with the 2 figures. And that was a great toy. And you hit the button too, and it even had that action where it almost split off together, and the wings popped out on the jet. So
it's like Batman Returns kind of ripped that off, with the Batmobile going through that alley.
The Bat Missile, yeah. So, that Hurricane I hold pretty high up there in my collection, being one that I had from my childhood. All right, let's keep going. What else you got?
All right, so this is one, again, Mick is not here. I feel like he doesn't get to talk about wrestling as much as he would like to, because I know he's a huge wrestling fan. So this, for me, is another one where it's like this unique experience that very few people had, and I was able to save some artifacts from it, which is, so in the world of professional wrestling, I grew up watching, the WWF, and even, into the Monday Night Wars, WCW, all of that. And the through line for all of that, the icon of professional wrestling for me was not a wrestler, but an interviewer. The man, Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yeah, Mean Gene.
I love me some Mean Gene. He was a class act. His reactions were just the best. I used to imitate Mean Gene on the playground. I would run around and interview people while they're playing like basketball and stuff. They're like, "Shut up, Adam." But to me, I was like, "Wow, that's sports
voice.
fan." So here we are today, and anyway, so I always loved Mean Gene. And one time in the early 90s, I was driving with my dad, and we were on a road trip to go see my grandparents, and just out of the desert, this oasis, I saw a sign, big yellow sign, Mean Gene's Burgers. And I'm like, what? And it had a picture of Mean Gene Okerlund on it. And this is literally the middle of like rural Utah. There was nothing there. It was a gas station, and next to it was this restaurant. So I was like, Dad, we have to pull off. So like we go and we get into Mean Gene's Burgers. It was a fast food restaurant endorsed by Mean Gene. And so he actually had, a full menu of items there. Mm-hmm. And so I get in there, I got my Mean Gene burger, and everything. And I saved the placemat. It's got Mean Gene on it. He says, Mean Gene guarantees it's good, And the other main catchphrase, I guess you could say, the line that they used in the marketing was, the burger that says, bite me. And so I actually got a t-shirt that says that on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
On the front it says the burger that says "bite me," and then in the back it has the Mean Gene logo. And I wore that to concerts like all through the 90s and stuff. People were like, "That's awesome! I love that." So I still have that. I have napkins. I have the bag. Like I saved everything from that experience, and it's all framed. And I even have my Mean Gene LJN wrestling action figure. So that to me is like, it's one of like the oddest. It's kind of a weird thing to have because the chain didn't last very long and very few people ever ate there, but I was one of the few, and so that's very special to me, just as a collectible item to have that paraphernalia.
Well, it's funny how we just kind of take characters like he really wasn't even a character on wrestling, and that's great that you saved all that. That's really cool. Mean Gene, man, he just had a great voice. I'm sure he was in radio or something before he got into announcing, but
yeah, I was sad when he passed away because I had hoped to someday go to a convention and meet him and like show him this stuff, and he'd be like, "What the?" Nah, you're the one, like you said before. It's just like, you're that guy, huh?
Yeah. All right, I got a couple more that I can throw out there. One is probably listening from the show. You already know this, but I'm a big fan of the Kasingle, and I love. I don't know what it is. I guess it just passed down from my mom, who was big into the 45s, and then she never bought albums. It was always the 45s. It was always the Kasingles and those little cardboard sleeves that you get instead of the full album. So I've got about, I don't know, I would say around 50 Kasingles that I keep with my record collection. And I've got a few that were hers, I remember, that I still have. One is the Bat Dance Kasingle that I took to Boy Scout camp. I wrote about on the Retro Network and was confiscated. I've got a few like that I remember, like being one of the first ones that I bought. The On Your Own from Ghostbusters 2, Bobby Brown. Yeah. I've got that Kasingle. I don't know what it is. They're just strange and, not something that you normally go out and collect. And I'll find them at thrift stores pretty cheaply usually. And if it's an artist that I've enjoyed or remember over the years, I usually pick them up. But, I don't know. We just popped some in a couple of days ago. The daughter will go through there and she'll pick out something. Let me hear this, and I'm like, something totally off the wall. Like, here we go. here's a tie into Last Action Hero. I have the AC/DC Big Gun single.
All right.
Wasn't that from Last Action Hero?
It was, yeah.
There you go. Okay, so I own a piece of Last Action Hero memorabilia.
Perfect.
Yeah, she'll like pick out something random like that, and okay, let's throw it in, see what you think of it. But yeah, it's just weird, some weird singles that I got back in the day that I keep in that collection. So I got still a bunch of cassettes, just regular albums and just recorded cassettes, mixtapes and stuff that I did back in the day that I've held on to as well. But those aren't, I guess those aren't really as collectible as like VHS tapes and stuff that you see in the thrift store now. Because I know you seek out those ones that people recorded off, TV.
Yeah.
And we talked about that, and even my local store will sometimes throw them out there for people to buy. So anyway, love the singles. So what else you got for me?
Okay, so one of these, I would say, if you want to go with my most nostalgic, this is kind of a twofer because they're a similar style of toy, and that must be why I wanted both of them and all of them. Maybe a threefer even here, because what I have is the Fisher-Price Movie Viewer. I don't know if people remember these, but it kind of looked like a cross between a video camera and a gun. It's just white plastic.
Yes.
And it has a little crank on the side, and you would insert these long cassettes that would go in there that had little film strips inside, and then you would turn it.
Oh,
that's sad. Right. And so I have it here right now. I have my Spider-Man, the Incredible Shrinking Spider-Man cartridge, but they have made all sorts of ones for like Disney characters and all that stuff. And I would just spend hours watching this forward and backward. I loved because you could crank it back and watch it in reverse, Spider-Man grows, Spider-Man shrinks, Spider-Man grows, Spider-Man shrinks, it's like that was a huge thing. But then also in the same vein was the Viewmaster show beam. Now, this is what I don't know how many people know about this. It's like a long red flashlight, but it kind of looks like I don't know. It's really hard to describe. It looks like actually a weapon that a Masters of the Universe character would hold, like to bludgeon somebody with. But what it is it's a projector, and you put in these little cartridges they look like little film cartridges, and you stick them in. So I have like a Pink Panther one, and I have a Super Friends one, and then you go into a dark room and you project it on the wall, and you squeeze, the little trigger, and it changes the slide. And so you'd be able to just kind of get a little slide story going on. And just there's so much time spent enjoying those. And then, like I said, I also have the real Ghostbusters Ghost Zapper, which was like another kind of step up from the Viewmaster show beam, which is basically, you project a ghost on the wall, and then you can push a little button, and it makes their face kind of change and jiggle, and then you can actually do ghost zapping sounds and all of that. So I have all those, from my childhood, and those are special to me just because, like I say, I could get lost in the fun of that. So
that was back. Yeah. If people just don't realize, back in the day, even we had like VHS tapes and stuff, the movies that we wanted to see weren't readily available. So you either had to wait for them to come on TV, or buy the album, buy the Story of Star Wars album so you could listen to the movie. Or you had those, you had the little projectors and stuff and the Viewmasters and all that to get essentially your movie fix. Because you just couldn't punch it up on Roku and find it back then. So yeah, all those items were just little ways to stay connected until you got to see the movie again. Right. And I do remember that white projector thing. A neighbor girl across the street had one, and I think she had Snow White, a bunch of the Disney ones. And yeah, those are really cool. Those are really fun to have in a collection. I just found a Viewmaster and probably about 50 Viewmaster, discs.
The reels, yeah.
Yeah, at a thrift store probably about a year ago. And I think I picked them all up for less than $20. It was $15 or $20. And not all of them, because back in the day you had 2 or 3 of those discs to complete something like a movie or whatever. And not all of them are complete, but I was like, oh, I just got to pick this up. And yeah, I still got those, and it's fun just to go back and think about that time when you didn't have access to a lot of those movies and shows, to kind of relive it without watching TV.
Yeah.
So that's really
Take
cool.
what you can.
That's absolutely. All right. I think I'm out. So you've got maybe one more for us?
I do. And I'll just say, if I was to look at my collection, I was trying to say, okay, what is the most valuable item in my collection then? Like you said, if you gotta turn a quick buck, you're going to get that, running up against some bills, whatever it is, hopefully not. But, so I was looking at it, and as part of, the Retro Detention YouTube series that I work on through Retro Days, a lot of that we use part of my collection, and then we'll kind of search out some very special pieces that we want to feature and add. So it's, extra awesome for everybody watching. And so when we decided to do our Ghostbusters 2 episode, I already had, a whole pile of stuff because I love that movie so much. I know it's hard to say. I can't say I love it more than the original, but I hold it in high esteem, like right next to it. Like it's just a great movie. And so the one thing I said we have to have, the thing that will make this video work, and it's going to be the centerpiece, is a vintage box of Ecto Cooler. A juice box from Ecto Cooler, because we had the re-release a couple of years back, and you better believe I bought a whole bunch of that. I got my can, I got my juice box from that, but it wasn't the same at all. I mean the flavor was, but the box design wasn't. I mean, it had shades of it. It sort of reminded you of it, but you didn't have Slimer on the box. It's not Ecto Cooler without Slimer.
Yes, you got to have Slimer.
Yeah, and so we scoured the internet and went to go find a box, and that was a big investment to get those because they don't come up very often. I'm sure Matt from Dinosaur Dracula's got 3 or 4 in a storage bin somewhere. I know he's got his cans and everything else, like the old school ones. But yeah, so either way, like just having that like on a shelf, I feel like I gotta put it under a glass case. But that's probably like the most valuable item that I have of everything, because some of my stuff might be worth, a couple bucks here and there, but like the one single item you could say, oh, that's special. That box Ecto Cooler. I
did notice that in the video too. I was like, ooh, that's a vintage one. There's Slimer. That was fun. Yeah, they need to, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's a better than 50% chance they're going to re-release it again with the new movie coming out next year?
I sure hope so. I mean, why not? I have a feeling it was very successful that first time around. So you've got the formula figured out again. Just give it to us. And I'll be smart this time, because I saw people that froze it. They're like, oh, you put it in the freezer so it stays better longer. Like, I just drank it all because it was going to go bad. Right. So...
I saw at RetroCon a high C pack, like a 10-pack, unopened, of Ecto Cooler. I took a picture of it. I was like, wow. I don't know how much it was going for, but...
And at RetroCon, when I performed, my runner-up prize was a 10-pack of Ecto Cooler, because it was the year that it had come out. So that was what I won. I was like, yes!
Very good. All right, man. Well, I think that's going to do it then. Did you have anything else you wanted to add as far as your collection goes?
It's too much to talk about.
Too much to talk about.
Go on and on, but yeah, it was fun to highlight a few special items. Yeah. I'll be curious to find out how many people have that much of a niche interest in as much as I do in some of these things. Kind of random.
Yeah, random is fun though, man. It's just great what you can run into and be like, oh, now look what I got in my collection. So. Great to have you. Thanks for filling in this week. This was great.
My pleasure.
We're going to move right into our wrap-up segment here. Coming up on the Retro Network this coming week, we like we teased last week, there's some Halloween stuff coming. We've got a post coming about Halloween specials from Tim over at Old School 80s. We've got a new feature that was actually just released today as we're recording, on basically comic books, current comic books. And Kevin went through a bunch just to see what was, as far as retro-minded stuff goes, what's out there and available right now on comic book shelves. diving into like Charlie's Angels and Ghostbusters and G.I. Joe. There's some good books on the shelf right now, so be sure to check out that this week. And then since you're here, what do we got coming up next week on Sequelquest?
Oh, this is going to be fun. We're getting into the spooky season. So the first episode of October, we are giving you a rewind episode from our archives. We're going to be talking about a third film in the Cronenberg The Fly series, starring Jeff Goldblum. So we had a lot of fun pitching those films and the ideas that we had for how do you bring it back around. Not everybody loved The Fly 2, so how do you make something that people are going to get behind, or is it a reboot? What is it going to be? So you should definitely tune into that.
Fun. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the second one. I've seen the first one, and that was quite a while ago, but that should be interesting to hear what your pitches are for The Fly 3 with Jeff Goldblum. That should be great. And then we've got one more little piece of shout-out business. Last week we were talking about our collection, and I brought up my sticker album. And I wanted to shout out Karen Bridget, who listens to the show. She actually has the pink sticker album to my blue sticker album, from her childhood. I guess they made one for the boys, one for the girls. But she brought that out. She actually put up on her Instagram a little video flipping through the pages, and I was just dialed in to everything that was on there. There was even some ones that were in my book that we had shared in common, but there was some scratch and sniff ones, the googly eyes. Remember those?
I do, absolutely.
I had a couple of those in there, and she had a couple of those type as well, but she went out to Instagram and put that up there. Karen Bridget 777, if you want to check that out. But Karen, thanks so much for sharing that. I got a real kick out of that this week. But as always, we just want to invite you to connect with us on social media, TRN Social, at RD80s, and Mick is at Yesterdayville. And where did you come up with Hoju Coolander? I haven't heard that story yet.
Yeah, the origin. Very quickly, here it is, TRN exclusive. Basically, I had a special secret club in junior high. I had always wanted one like the Goonies or whatever else. And so I created this idea. I said, guys, well, actually, my friends in air quotes were hanging out without me at this secret grove of trees that they would go into in this park. And so I was like, where do you guys go all the time? And they finally agreed to let me in on the secret. And I was like, guys, this could be our clubhouse. We'll be the Coolanders. And they're like, I was like, well, I'll have code names. And so I ended up naming everybody else. And then one guy chose his own, and then so ultimately I landed on Hoju because I was a huge Simpsons fan, still am. And so, there's the monorail episode, where Bart says, I'm going to follow in your footsteps. Do you want to change your name to Homer Jr.? The kids can call you Hoju. So Hoju Coolander. So when I started writing online, I just chose that as my screen name.
That's great. At Hoju Coolander for everybody to go over there and follow Adam. But man, this was fun. I'm glad. Thanks so much for sitting in for Mick. I won't tell him how much of a good time we had. Just, but it was fun, man. We appreciate you coming on and filling in for us this week.
I'm always ready to talk, that. So looking forward to the next opportunity. But Mick, come back real soon because we missed you.
Absolutely, yeah. And check out Adam, like we mentioned on that TRN Talk episode on the VHS collecting. That was really great. He's been on a couple of those Situation Jukebox episodes, and he was on that one trivia that we did that we haven't brought back yet because we're so into the Situation Jukebox. But yeah, Adam's here. He's got a bunch of great articles up there on the website too, so make sure you plug in and follow him and get all of his other content too, like over on Retro Days. So for Adam, this is Jason. Thanks so much for tuning in this week, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Network Podcast channel. Make sure you listen to all of the great podcasts we have to offer right here in this feed. If you enjoy our channel, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on social media by following TRN Social and visit the retronetwork.com website for your daily retro fix. Come back next week for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast.